Hello, coaches. How are you this morning? I'm so excited to be here with you. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure we are just all connected there. Yes, we are. Awesome. Just want to make sure I can see that. And I am so excited today to bring you another interview with an awesome, awesome lady whose name just happens to be Lisa. I like to have fun, as you can tell. So let me just make sure my phone is there. All set. So everybody, thank you for being patient with us. We had a little technical difficulties. So we are here. You all understand about technical difficulties, but we are here with Lisa Zawrotny. And I hope I said that right. So
you did beautifully. Well done.
Okay, good. She's a productivity and accountability coach. And Lisa is founder of the Positively Productive Systems, host of the Positively Living podcast, and a productivity and accountability coach certified in positive psychology and stress management. She helps multi-passionate creatives do less, live more, and breathe easier by designing a custom productivity approaches that honor their strengths, values, and personality. Right up my alley. I know, right? When she's not sharing the wonders of simplicities, self-awareness, and systems, you can find her playing music and watching movies with her husband and kiddos, or drinking iced coffee and reading while trapped under a cat. Okay. Well, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to have you here.
Oh, Lisa, thank you so much for the warm welcome. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all the flexibility and patience on everyone's part with the technical difficulties, which do happen sometimes. It's been a little crazy as of late. We're at the end of the school year. I've got a couple kiddos in school. We've got there's a lot going on, but I am really excited to dig into this with you today.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. And hopefully no one's going to show up at my door. They're ringing my doorbell.
Right? It's that kind of day.
I am just going to ask you to explain to the audience what 2 top things that your ideal clients struggle with, and how you help them overcome. And I will be right back.
Sure thing. Okay, while she's answering the door, you know what? That's a great example of something that my clients struggle with, is distraction. But really the big things are the overwhelm that can come from life and trying to balance all the things that you love, especially when you're multi-passionate. If you're a serial entrepreneur, if you have multiple things going on in your life, that overwhelm of trying to, you're talking about work-life balance. I like to call it like life harmony. That's really the big thing. Lisa, I was just sharing about overwhelm, and that's that kind of like, you're trying to balance all the things are happening, distractions are happening, doorbells are ringing, the school's calling and they're asking you to, pick up the kids early, and you're trying to live a life and design a life, right? That includes a business that reflects you and honors you, and that, it's a life that you love, that you want to live. And it has all those pieces that make it you. That balance, it's not even a top 2. It's like all those pieces together. It's that puzzle. That's what I help with, because when you realize that being productive and getting things done is not about being busy and doing all the things, and it's not an outward choice, but an inward reflection and understanding that will help you find the tools you need, you're going to be golden. That's what I do.
And that's so amazing, because, it is, we want this perfect life, and nothing is ever going to be perfect, but we have this vision. We could maybe even wake up in the day and have something planned, and then things just go awry, as you know.
Oh yeah.
But it's life, and that's reality. So, what does it actually mean to actually be productive? Because I think sometimes we think it should look like this, but it doesn't always have to be to look like what we expect it to look like. We could do one thing instead of 100 things and still be productive. So what does it actually mean to be productive?
I love that you asked that question. Not enough people ask that question, Lisa. So thank you. For starters, okay, we want to be careful that we don't conflate, that's easy for me to say, being productive with being busy. So the way that I define being productive is that productivity is doing the right things the right way for you at the right time. So you see all those rights in there are intentional choices that they make sense for you. So if you think about that, to your point, it's like you could do 100 things or you could do one thing and it can still count as being productive because you're making a choice based on what's best for you in your life, in that moment, in that season, with the way that you work. That's what being productive means. It means that you are moving toward your goals. It means that, there's ROI to what you're doing, right? Your return on investment. We forget that investment isn't just money. Time is money, right? Time is energy, right? What do
Yes.
we want to pour ourselves into? All of that. Being productive means that you're leveraging and engaging. It's not just about producing more, it's about living more and achieving more with whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah, I love that you said that because I was at networking this morning and that was part of what we talked about. And again, we could think that we need to get 50 things done today,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe not a lot of those things are something that are really passionate to us. Whereas if we get one thing done, which maybe that's the self-care we do in the morning, that can be very productive, right? And help us be productive throughout our day. In that regards, why do we need to care about energy management versus time management? Because to me, my morning routine produces a lot of energy for me.
Exactly what you're talking about in terms of, okay, you're making choices, right? You're prioritizing what you need to do. And one of those examples would be self care. Well, that self care, what you do to pour into yourself, is going to make a huge difference in how you show up. The way that I describe energy management, and I say versus time management, I'm not trying to pit them against each other, but I'm hoping that you will see things differently when you think about it this way. Okay, case in point, example with my kids. Hey, you have an opportunity to have a sleepover with your friends as long as your room is clean. Do you know how quickly they clean that room? And yet it took them an entire week. They didn't want to do it. That's energy management right there in a nutshell, right? You can take the same task, the same approach, right? But when you are motivated, when you have slept well, eaten well, nobody likes me when I'm hangry, right? When you have poured into you and when it matters to you, there's a reason behind it, right? Which, connects to motivation. All of those things produce energy and you can achieve something. Well, I mean, hello, 11th hour folks, where are we? Hello, right? Okay, that last
Yeah.
minute, right? That actually creates urgency and stress. The connection to stress and productivity is really interesting. We spend a lot of time in our lives saying, oh, I don't want to be stressed. But really, it's a bell curve. We want a bit of stress to get us up off the couch and engaged and light a fire under us to go. What we don't want is the constant elevated chronic stress that's going to create distress and it's going to pull us down. And that's what we're trying to get the self-care for. And it's this vicious cycle. So
Mhm.
instead, if we can optimize how much stress we have, if we can optimize how much energy we have, what brings us energy. I love that you mentioned what we do as being something that can also bring us energy. So the choices we make, how we show up. That is why energy management goes over time management anytime. Yes, you manage your time, you understand you have limited time, but what you can do in that amount of time that you have can really vary if you control your energy.
Yeah. And so wouldn't you say that goes along because you mentioned how we show up, right? And so, yes, you could have your day all planned out, like, the whole morning, and so that you can spend time with your family at night, right? And
Yeah.
you planned your time with your family, but how are you showing up at that time, right? Have you exhausted all of your energy because you were doing stuff that isn't really meaningful or didn't need to be done? and now you're showing up for your family in a different way. Can you talk a little bit about how we show up?
Okay, so one of the most powerful things that we can do, whether it's the concept of being productive to be in flow, right, which is our most productive self, when we are not distracted, when we're in that moment, okay, that right there, that phrase "in that moment" is probably a hint to you. And it's the same thing that we want to do for our families and for the people that we love, is to be present. That is one of the most powerful things we can do. And unfortunately, when we're tired, when we didn't get done what we wanted to get done because we're overwhelmed, there's too much going on, we've been distracted. And sometimes the distraction comes from we have this long to-do list that we haven't properly formatted, right? And now it's like it's constantly yelling at us. And then you're trying to be in the moment, let's say with your family, and you're thinking about all the stuff you have to do. It's not being fully present in that moment. And that's, I mean,
Yeah.
that's constant dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's going to drain your energy. And yeah, again, and the cycle continues.
constant dissatisfaction. Hello, everybody.
Right.
That's what we're perceiving, right? And so
Right.
you and I have talked about multi-passionate creatives. So
Yes.
I'd love for you to explain that to the audience, because they may not know exactly what you mean by that. But then why do multi-passionate creatives especially need to approach productivity differently?
Okay, so for starters, multi-passionate, it's one of the phrases that's out there. And you may have also heard multi-potentialite. There was a really great TED talk done ages ago by Emily Wapnick. And she has an awesome website, Putty Like. And she talks about how, multi-potentialites don't have one true calling. But you may have also heard this as from Da Vinci, like a polymath, right? A Renaissance man or woman, slash careers, scanners, serial entrepreneurs. These are all phrases that represent those of us, and I say that because I am one, who have so many passions, love more than one thing, are constantly learning and innovating and excited about trying something else. And the reason why we need to think about productivity differently is because society has created this framework, if you will, that works for the singularly minded. And if you are someone who's like, I love this one thing and I'm in it to win it, that's fantastic.
Right.
Celebrate that. But for those of us who've like, but I like this and I like this and I like this. And if you told me I couldn't do all those things, I have a list ready to go of other ideas. We felt out of place for a long time because the productivity resources and the tips and advice and the techniques are all very singularly minded. Even the planners that are out there are very much like, oh, you have a job and you do this and great. No, I have a job and a side hustle and a this and a that, it's like, and some hobbies that are pretty much like jobs. And I have a lot more than your your framework is offering me. So it's not only that, but it's also from a productivity standpoint, us honoring who we are and not feeling shame about it. I think that's so incredibly important because shame will get you nowhere and is certainly not going to help you be productive. And to understand that you do think differently and that you may overwhelm yourself by all the things that you love. So the bright, shiny object syndrome can be real, but you also need to honor these passions in order to get that energy management. That's where, when you're a multi-passionate, you need to think about how you work, honor how you work differently, and then think about it. When you do the things that you love, or you take a break and do the things that you love, you come back to what you need to do, refreshed and ready to go. And again, energized.
Yes, and that makes so much sense. And you had me during that time just now talking, thinking back years and years and years ago, because I've always been that multi-creative person. I love multiple things and I love to have my hands in multiple things at the same time. That's just part of who I am. And, again, society says you can't be really that way and be productive, right?
Right.
Because you just can't do multiple things. You can't multitask. It's very difficult to really get ahead. But that's not true. And I think you hit it right. We have to honor who we are. And I love that you said that, because you took me back like way long time. I'm going to tell you how long, but way long time. And I think, I wish I would have known that then, or heard that then.
Thank you for sharing that with me, because this is why I do what I do. And to hear that, and I know that I felt that as well, but to hear you say that, and to know that that's something you wish you would have heard, that's why I love that we're having this conversation. I so appreciate you elevating this topic, because I think it's paramount. And so let's talk about multitasking very quickly, just to clarify. The actual concept of multitasking, where you are focused on two different things at the same time, is debunked. It's not actually possible. However, task switching, depending upon the executive function of your brain, is very possible. Quick task switching is. And if you have many things that you love, it can be beneficial to switch between those types of things to get that energy that you need. So I understand that I can't, work on my guitar. I'm obsessed with finger picking and teaching myself how to do that on an acoustic. And I can't do that and write an article that I'm submitting, right?
Right.
I know I can't do those things at the same time, but I can switch between those tasks by batching a bit of time to focus on the article. And then when I get tired or I need a break, I go and I work on the guitar, and then I come back to it. So that's where doing the different things that we're passionate about, whether it's hobbies or, projects or businesses, doesn't matter. If we love it and it's energy giving, it's going to change how we show up. And you're right. I think there's a bit too much of the, oh, well, this just means as soon as I say the word just, I start to cringe. I don't mean to, but I'm saying that's often said to us. It's a very demeaning, kind of diminishing word, where it's like, you can't decide. Like that is like when I say, don't make me choose, my friends tease me a lot, and they tease me lovingly about this, mind you. That is like a catchphrase of mine. I'm like, don't make me choose. Someone says, hey, give me a favorite. I'm like, no. And you know what? I'm here to say that's okay. That's more than okay, because that love and that passion and that, that you have a breadth of knowledge when you love so many things, and you've worked through them and scanned the information and learned so much. This is not the jack of all trades, master of none. It can be master of many, actually.
Yes, yes. And, obviously I work with a lot of coaches, and this group is filled with coaches, and they are, again, a lot of them multi-creatives, and they think, and, sometimes that gets, it overwhelms them, because they have so much in their head when they're trying to, start their coaching business. So sometimes that can feel overwhelming and very cluttered. So what's one step to help us declutter our lives in that sort of way? And, even though we are multi-creatives and
So I think that's a very important point, where we need to consider the fact that we love so many things, and we're generating so many ideas and making so many connections, which is a brilliant superpower. But we do need to harness it and kind of keep it in line. So the best way to do that is by not letting it all sit in your head and sit with you and constantly distract you, but rather to capture it, so that you say when, you say what and who, right? And
yes.
when you do that, that would be through a mind sweep or a brain dump. The mind sweep phrase comes from David Allen's Getting Things Done. It's the idea of capturing what has your attention, what's in your brain, and putting it into a safe system. And I have a worksheet I do with all of my clients, and it's for free on my website, but you don't even need the worksheet right now. You could set a timer for 5 minutes, and everything that's in your brain right out. Now, my worksheet has prompts and suggestions and things like that, but really it's what has your attention? Because if it's in there, it is taking up space. And I want to be clear when we say declutter, clutter is, according to Peter Walsh, my favorite quote, not just the stuff on the floor, but anything that gets in between you and the life you want to live.
What was that author's name?
Peter Walsh.
Ah,
He's a professional organizer from way back, and that is my background, professional organizing. And I used to work with physical clutter, but I realized so quickly that physical and mental and emotional clutter, they're all connected, and we can approach them all in the same way. First of all, identifying what is clutter. Is it getting in between you and the life you want to live? And honestly, a full brain, like maybe excused, my brain is full, a full brain, that's what keeps you from being present, what we talked about before.
yes.
So that's a quick, simple thing you can do right now, the minute we're done
Okay,
here,
we have coaches watching this right now. So
Yeah.
you heard it, coaches. After this is over, take that 5 minute and do a really quick brain dump or brain sweep.
Mind sweep. Yep.
Brain
Whatever you want to call it. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
You're clearing out the brain and you're putting that stuff there. Now, here's the most important part of that. That is not your to-do list.
No.
That is your to choose list. Okay, that is what you
love that you've had all these little shifts in the words that you're using. And I hope the coaches are picking up on that. So you just said what did you just say?
It's not your to-do list, because that's a thing. I know oh, what do I have? What's going on with me? And then you take a moment, you're writing all the stuff down. Great. Okay, now I have my to-do list. No, wait, stop, stay with me. Stay with me. Don't go away yet. It is not your to-do list. It is your to choose list. And that means a couple of things, right? One, the choice is a powerful, wonderful thing, right? You get to decide what's going on with that. The other thing that it indicates to you or reminds you is that this is something that needs to be processed. And that means that it may have your attention in your head. There may be things that feel urgent, but whose urgent are they? So now that you have it down on paper or wherever, or you could do it on notes on your phone, it doesn't matter, wherever it is, you take a good look at it kind of from a very objective, right, perspective, and you figure out how to process that, where those things belong. And there are going to be a variety of things. Some are going to be like, why did that have my attention? I do not need to be dealing with that right now, or maybe ever. Oh, that one, I need to put that in my calendar right away. Oh, that one, that goes on my to-do list today. And you figure it out from there, because not everything that is in our brains, especially with a world that is so packed with information that's coming at us, right?
Yes.
Not everything that's in there distracting us deserves our immediate attention or attention ever, maybe.
Right. Now, is that, I know you and I have also talked about creating the steps to your to-do list. What you just talked about, part of those, are there any other parts of, creating a to-do list that doesn't trap us or make us feel trapped? I do know that I always tell people, the coaches and everybody, to put stuff on paper, because it just calms your nervous system when you don't think you have to remember it and you put it on paper. But what are some, strategic steps they can take?
So that was step number one, which is get it out of your brain. Then how you process it to get to the point where you have a to-do list, like you said, that doesn't trap you. The first thing you need to do is take a look at what's in this capture list, which, by the way, you can continue to add to, because this is not a one and done. 5 minutes a day if you want, 5 minutes, whatever feels comfortable to you. You could do it on an as needed basis where you're like, I feel like my brain is going 5 different ways. I need to step back and be present. Do that sweep, right? Yes. Keep it all together and then take the time. This could be when you're planning your week, when you're reviewing your week, you take the time to look at that. And again, it's the to choose list, right? So you're processing. The first thing you want to ask yourself, I use 4 Ds. You may have heard of 3 Ds, but I have 4, and they're in a specific order for a very important reason. Because the first one is to delete. And that means don't don't have on your list, right? Don't list what you don't intend to do. You don't want to organize what you don't intend to keep. That's wasted energy, right?
Right.
So don't put on your list what you're not going to do. So that's where I said stepping back and saying, where did this come from? This was something someone else had in mind. Do I really want to do that? Do I does that even make sense? Why was that there? like going through your purse and you're like, how did this get in there?
Exactly.
Right? But that's what you're doing with your to-do list. So what doesn't belong, what's lingering, what maybe made sense at the time, but and you've been carrying it for a while, no more. So deleting or decluttering, however you want to look at it,
Right.
removing that. You've already taken a portion away that you no longer have to process and work through.
I can
This,
feel it.
right?
Feel
Right? You
the
said, oh,
calm
decluttering, you know
already
what
because
it's
I'm thinking
like
of a couple of those.
right. Think about like when you're decluttering a closet, then you have a bag that's like going to donation. Well, now you're decluttering the what would have been your to-do list, but we're not doing it that way anymore. So
Right.
yeah, a portion is already gone and you're like, "Wee, okay. What's next is delegating." And that's where you start to think, okay, how can it get done? And you'll notice I didn't say, how can I do it?
Right.
I asked passively so that my brain is now starting to think, how can that just get done? I could ask someone to do it, pay someone to do it. I could automate it. You don't have to be the one to do it. There are so many different ways that you can take it off of your plate in that way.
That
Now, right?
is a
Right?
shift in words that totally made that feel different for me.
Hmm.
How can it get done?
Yes.
Brilliant. It's so simple, but yet if you're not aware of your language
Mm.
and in trying to think about these things that we're saying to ourselves, instead of saying, how can I get done? How can it get done? It automatically opens up possibilities for your brain to start thinking, like you said. So, wow, awesome. I'm going to put that into place today too.
I love it. Okay. So those two things have essentially taken things off your plate, right? Or out of the to choose list.
Yes.
Then what you have left, the last two D's. The third one is delay. And by that I mean is that it doesn't have to be like a necessarily a someday thing, but it's a definitely not now. And that speaks a lot to what your current bandwidth is. Like, I have to be very careful what I'm doing right now at the end of the school year, when so much more is happening. I don't like using the word busy, but sometimes I'll go, it's an active time for the family, So you want to think, okay, what's something that I really do want on this list? I want to get done, but it doesn't have an immediate deadline. It doesn't have a need to be here in my space, distracting me, yelling at me because I'm not doing it, right? So I'm going to intentionally place it in the future. And the great way to do that is actually to put something on your calendar 3 months, 6 months, 9 months from now and say, revisit this idea.
Right.
Put a link to a Google Doc where you've put some notes or whatever. And that allows you to take it away from your brain, from that guilt that seems to arise, right? That the shame and the frustration that can come up whenever you see something on a list and you're like, I haven't dealt with that. Now you have dealt with it by intentionally saying, not now. And there's such a difference, right? Between if you say, I'm going to wait and revisit that in 6 months because I think it's a brilliant idea, but I can't do it right now. Great. Versus it's on my list forever and I haven't done anything with it. You can feel the difference, right?
Oh, totally. Totally.
Right. And one is productive and one will just drain you. And also it's distract you, keep you busy thinking about what you're not supposed to be thinking about, right?
Right.
So that was the 3 Ds so far. And we have one last one. And wouldn't you believe it? That one is do. That's where we actually say take action. But look at the difference. If you try to take action on all those things, where are you getting?
Nowhere, because you're overwhelmed.
Yep.
You're only one person. You can only do so much, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so if you process through using those other 3Ds, now what you have left, here's where you can say, all right, it's time to take action now. Now I can apply those classic productivity tech, easy for me to say, productivity techniques, right? That we hear about all the time. I can do some Pomodoro sprints. Now I need to start to prioritize this, right? I'm urgent, important, where is this? I can think about it and leverage, I call it flex blocking. So I'm used to saying that, but like time blocking where you
Okay.
can, right? You're batching certain things or you're having a dedicated time to work on things. Now you can take action on these things and apply the productivity techniques that are going to move the needle forward. But it's a much smaller portion that you're working on. And that's going to get you further faster.
And it feels much more inspired.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
Motivating.
yeah, the things that you've said, okay, that doesn't even belong. Why was that there? Or it doesn't belong anymore. And
Right.
that's fair. I mean, you're allowed to say, okay, I put that on there and I thought I was going to do it, but I'm letting that go now. That's a brilliant thing. Don't let, someone from, yourself specifically from a month ago or, 3 months ago who thought it was a great idea, seemed like a good idea at the time. Don't
Right.
let them bully you into keeping it now if the person you are now realizes it's not a good fit.
And we do shift and we do grow and we do change what we are wanting to or what we thought we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So you just being open to all of that. This has
Yeah.
been an eye opener for me. I've learned so much here. A lot of it I have in place, but I've still learned some tips and strategies that I just love. And before I ask this question, I always ask my guests, what's something on your bucket list that you would love to accomplish? And the first thing you would like to accomplish.
Oh my goodness. So you see, thank you for saying first thing because it's like, don't make me choose. I have so
Okay.
many things that I want to do. I've got some traveling. Okay, traveling to Italy, eating my way through Italy. Let's be honest, eating my way. That is definitely on the list. But sooner, I have on my bucket list to perform in an actual rock band, and that is happening. My family has put one together with some friends, and we're working on that. So that's pretty exciting. So I've got the this could actually happen and is going to happen in the near future versus the someday ones. Those are two off the top of my head. And other than continued travel with my family, which I absolutely love, even around the United States, I guess those are the first two that come to my mind. And there's plenty more. I It'll never stop. I'll always have new ideas. So ask me in a week.
Okay. And just FYI, Italy is on my bucket list too, and I will be eating everything, my way through. I do have two friends of mine who have been doing just that, eating their
Mm.
way through Italy for the last 3 weeks. And I've been seeing all of the pictures and I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, how can our audience, connect with you, follow you? I know I'm going to post your links in the group with this, video here, but what are some of the ways they can follow you? And do you have a freebie for them to kind of look back at what we talked about?
Absolutely. So on the website positivelyproductive.com, you can find all the different ways to locate me. And right on the home page is a multi-passionate toolkit that has the worksheets that I use, including what I call the focus file. That was for that mind sweep. And then there's one on core values, because that matters so much. And one called the joy list, which I absolutely love. I call it creating your own self-care guide because it does speak to, it's some easy prompts, very quick to do, to help you figure out things that you do love so that you can start connecting it back to the things that you're doing. And
Yeah.
that is energy management. It is self-care. It is all those things. So that's the freebie. You are, if you're a podcast listener and you like while you're riding around, working out, doing the laundry, if you want to hear some good stuff, very much like what we talked about today, the Positively Living podcast is my pride and joy of 3 years right now, this June. And there's over 160 episodes. So there's plenty, depending upon what you feel you need to fill up with right now. And then from a stress management and fun standpoint, I do ridiculous reels to make myself laugh and everyone else on Instagram. So I'd love it if you'd hang out with me there. And that's positively_Lisa.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Lisa. I know that everybody is going to love hearing everything we talked about today. And I so appreciate you being on this interview with me in this podcast. And I will post everything in the group and on YouTube where everybody can find it. And yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you too. I'm filled with gratitude. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye for now.